Hey guys, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we are
Sisters of the South.
We are back again today with another true crime video. But before we get started, we'd like to ask you to hit that like button. Also, share the video if you feel it's worth sharing. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Also, hit that notification bell so you know every time that Sisters of the South it has uploaded a new video.
Ding!
And we appreciate every single one of you. Also, we would like to give a big shout out to SoFly.
SoFly!
SoFly! They are a small family-owned business here in the Houston, Texas area that do embroidery and laser work. They will do embroidery on accessories such as hoodies, beanies, caps, aprons, and then with lasering, they do keychains. I've seen them do cutting boards, and they do beautiful work. So give them a call or give them a shout out. We'll put their information in the description box below. And I know that you'll be happy with their work. They have great customer service. So we're going to put a little video up to show you a little bit about what they do. So here we go.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that video. Please go check them out and let them know we sent you.
Absolutely. So today, Tiffany's going to be narrating a story for us. And so we're going to turn it over to her and let her get started. So here we go.
All right, guys. Maria Ridulph was born on March 12th, 1950 in Sycamore, Illinois. She was the youngest of 4 children and had 2 sisters and a brother. Maria was an honors student, then in 2nd grade. She also received awards for perfect Sunday school attendance at her church.
Aww.
I know, how cute.
Dedicated.
According to her mother, Maria was high-strung. My daughter was a nervous girl, and if she got into any trouble, would become hysterical, Frances said in a 1957 interview. Someone would probably have to kill her to keep her quiet. I am the only one who could calm her down. Maria was also described as a screamer and afraid of the dark. A screamer.
A screamer. Interesting. I wonder if she had night terrors or something.
I don't know, but that's horrible.
Yes.
December 3rd, 1957 was the first day it had snowed that season in Sycamore, Illinois. After dinner, 7-year-old Maria Ridulph asked to go outside and play with her best friend, 8-year-old Kathy Sigmund. They were playing a game where they tried to dodge the headlights of oncoming cars.
Back when times were simpler.
According to Kathy, they were approached by a man who Kathy would later describe to police as a blond man with a high voice and big teeth, wearing a colorful sweater. The man, who said his name was Johnny, told the girls he was 24 and not married, which I think is weird. Why are you telling kids that?
Yeah, what
What's
kind
the
of conversation are you having with little girls that
A
would even
7
bring
and
that up?
8-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
He asked if they liked dolls and if they liked piggyback rides. He gave Maria a piggyback ride, and then she went back to her house to get a doll to show him. While Maria was gone, the man asked Kathy if she wanted to go for a walk, but she declined. He then told her she was pretty. After Maria returned, Kathy ran back to her house to get her mittens. She asked Maria to come, but she wouldn't. When Kathy returned, Maria and the man were gone.
Oh, wow.
Kathy went back to Maria's house to tell her parents she couldn't find Maria. The family initially thought Maria was hiding and sent Maria's 11-year-old brother to look for her. After he was unable to find her, the Ridulphs called the police, and within an hour, police and armed civilians began a search of the town, but failed to locate Maria or Johnny.
Armed civilians.
Armed civilians. I loved it.
My kind of living right
Because
there.
that's who I want looking for my girl when she goes missing.
Exactly right. Absolutely.
I don't mind arming up and looking for a little girl if some jerkwad took her.
That's right.
Maria's disappearance received national news coverage, and both President Dwight Eisenhower and FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover took an interest in the case. They even had the president involved.
Yeah.
Law enforcement continued to investigate various suspects in the area, including transients, known sex offenders, and a local man who had given children piggyback rides, but developed no leads. So these men are just going around giving children piggyback rides?
Yeah. Now that I can remember that as a kid being common, but in today's world, that's a
I
people.
understand that, but you're talking multiple men going around like, you know what? This dude gives piggyback rides too. We got to go check him
No,
out.
I agree, but back then people didn't think anything about it.
Still,
Usually it's your uncle, or your cousin or
not just
something like
some
that.
dude
Not
in the
some random
neighborhood.
guy. But, back then probably everybody knew everybody. So for the most part, they probably didn't think much of
But
it.
for the police to be like, we need to go investigate this guy. He's known for giving piggyback rides.
Yeah,
That's odd. I
that
don't
is
care who you
odd.
are or what
Yeah.
year it is. Maria's parents appeared on TV and in other media pleading for their daughter's safe return and the public's help in finding her. For months, investigators stayed at Maria's house. Volunteers showed up to search for any trace of Maria. Her doll was found by a neighbor's garage, which was processed for evidence by the FBI. Not much else was found. Roadblocks were set up, cars were searched, and military airplanes and helicopters looked for her from above. Kathy Sigmund was the only witness who had seen Johnny and was placed in protective custody as the police and FBI feared that the kidnapper would come back and harm her. The authorities had her look at photos of convicted felons or suspects who bore resemblance to Johnny. In April of 1958, 5 months after she disappeared, Maria's body was found approximately 90 miles from her home near Woodbine, Illinois.
Oh, wow.
90 miles. A man and his wife were hunting for mushrooms on a friend's farm when they discovered the skeletal remains of a small child wearing only a shirt, undershirt, and socks under a partially fallen tree. The decomposed condition of the body indicated it had been there for several months. The body was identified as Maria Ridulph based on dental records, a lock of hair, and the shirts and socks she had been wearing when she disappeared. The rest of Maria's clothing, including her coat, slacks, socks, and an undergarment, were never found. No photos were taken of the crime scene because the coroner did not want any photos of the child's body leaked to newspapers. Because the crime had occurred within Illinois rather than crossing state lines, the FBI withdrew from the case, leaving it to state and local police. The initial autopsy did not determine a cause of death due to the state of decomposition. One suspect in Maria's murder was 18-year-old John Tessier of Sycamore, Illinois. His alibi was that he was in Rockford, Illinois, approximately 40 miles from Sycamore, enlisting in the Air Force on the night of the murder. This was verified via FBI interviews with recruiting officers who remember seeing Tessier at the time he claimed to be there. Tessier also said he made a collect call from the post office in Rockford to the Tessier home in Sycamore. Phone records show the operator took a call from a man who gave his name as John Tessier at 6:57 p.m. on December 3rd. A week after Maria's abduction, Tessier was cleared as a suspect. After serving 13 years in the Air Force, Tessier retired and became a police officer and settled down in Washington State and had 2 children. In 1982, Tessier took in a 15-year-old runaway named Michelle Weinman and her friend. Weinman says he was nice enough at first, but then he started giving her goodnight kisses, which eventually escalated to massages. Then came the night he assaulted her. Though Tessier still maintains he didn't do it, he was initially charged with statutory rape and eventually pled guilty to communication with a minor for immoral purposes. He also resigned from the police force, thank God.
Yeah.
After the conviction, John Tessier changed his name to Jack McCullough, saying he wanted to honor his mother, Eileen McCullough Cherry. I'm going to say it was probably because he had a bad rap under that first name.
Yeah. He had a record. He was trying to cover it up.
Oh, yeah. So in 1997, Sycamore Police Lieutenant Patrick Solar closed the then 40-year-old Ridulph case, naming William Henry Redmond, a former truck driver and carnival worker from Nebraska who had died in 1992, as the man who had likely abducted and killed Maria. Redmond had been charged in 1988 with the 1951 murder of an 8-year-old Pennsylvania girl, although the case was dismissed when a police officer refused to reveal the name of the confidential informant. Redmond was also a suspect in the 1951 disappearance of 10-year-old Beverly Potts in Ohio. According to Solar, Redmond told a fellow inmate that he committed a crime similar to the Ridulph abduction and murder. Solar also believed that Redmond's appearance and behavior matched that of Johnny. Solar's report was criticized due to the lack of supporting evidence and alleged political motivations. Solar himself acknowledged that the evidence against Redmond was circumstantial and that if Redmond had lived, it would have been difficult to convict him in the Ridulph case unless he confessed. For that reason, Solar called the Ridulph case closed but not solved, leaving open the possibility that a better suspect might be found later. When Jack McCullough was later tried in the Ridulph case, the trial judge ruled out any testimony about Redmond on the grounds that he was not a credible suspect. The case of Maria Ridulph's murder was reopened in 2008 based on new information from John Tessier's, now McCullough, half-sister Janet. According to Janet, their mother Eileen, on her deathbed in January 1994, had said, "Those two little girls, and the one that disappeared, John did it. John did it." Janet took the statement as meaning John had kidnapped and murdered Maria Ridulph. She had also heard from her older sisters that Eileen had lied to investigators and that he was home on the night of the murder. Janet Tessier said that she made several attempts over the next 14 years to get law enforcement, including the Sycamore police and the FBI, to look into her mother's statement. Patrick Solar, who during part of his time as a lieutenant with the Sycamore police and had identified another man as the most likely suspect in Maria's murder, told CNN that Janet had never spoken to him, but that he would not have suspected John Tessier because he knew the Tessier family. Ralph Tessier had painted the Sycamore police cars, and John Tessier had been cleared by the FBI in 1957. Well, he painted the cars, so he couldn't have murdered anyone.
I mean, what does that have to do with anything?
Anything. Come on, guys.
I mean, it doesn't even matter what he does or did.
Yeah. So in 2008, Janet emailed the Illinois State Police tip line, resulting in the State Police Cold Case Unit undertaking a lengthy investigation into McCullough's background and alibi. Janet's sisters, Catherine and Jeanne, told investigators of their suspicions, and Jeanne said that John had her as a child and other young girls. Another woman alleged that John Tessier had given her a piggyback ride as a child and refused to put her down until her father intervened.
Oh, hell no. That is insane. This guy didn't get his ass kicked ever? I mean, come on.
She must not have had a crazy mother like my children have. Because my husband's very calm, but if you give my child a piggyback ride, well, first of all, if I don't know you very well, you're not giving my child a piggyback ride. And if you try, all the crazy's coming out.
Well, that's just not something you want any of your children doing. I mean, you know, there's reasons why, but that's just odd. Yeah.
Again, with the piggyback rides.
Yeah,
Ugh.
for sure.
State police investigators reviewed evidence and developed a new timeline under which Tessier could have kidnapped Maria and driven to Rockford in time to make a phone call at 6:57 p.m. and meet with recruiting officers at 7:15 p.m. Under this new timeline, they determined that Maria would have been kidnapped no later than 6:20 p.m. The police search for Maria was underway by 7 p.m. They couldn't have done that to begin with?
Right.
Oh, wait. His stepfather painted the police cars, so there's no way.
Yeah, again, that has nothing to do with anything, but people get something in their head and they just stick with it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know why the painting of police cars could hold a stepson back from killing someone, but
Right,
okay.
for sure.
Hoping to have Kathleen review a photo lineup, police took 5 pictures from the 1957 Sycamore High School yearbook, but John Tessier's photo was not in the yearbook as he had been expelled. Well, of course he was. Police obtained a different photo of him from a former girlfriend. Kathy identified the picture of Tessier. Along with the picture, Tessier's former girlfriend provided an unused military-issued train ticket from Rockford to Chicago dated December 3rd, 1957. The investigators took this to suggest that, contrary to Tessier's alibi, Tessier had not taken the train on his trip to Chicago and had instead driven his car there, meaning that he could have driven back to Sycamore the afternoon of December 3rd, kidnapped Maria, and driven to Rockford. The police located a high school friend of Tessier who recalled seeing Tessier's distinctively painted car in Sycamore that afternoon and said that Tessier did not let anyone else drive his car.
It was distinctively painted.
Well, I mean, his stepdad does have some skills in
Yeah.
painting vehicles.
So, hello. There you go. There's your answer.
Well, in July 2011, the Seattle Police Department, which had joined with the Illinois State Police in the investigation, brought McCullough in for questioning using a professional interrogator due to McCullough's law enforcement experience. At first, McCullough spoke calmly and cooperated, but when faced with questions about the murder of Maria Ridulph and his whereabouts on the night of the crime, he became evasive and aggressive. After McCullough refused to answer any more questions, he was arrested for the kidnapping and murder of Maria Ridulph and extradited to Illinois. Maria's body was exhumed that same month to check for DNA evidence, but none could be found. However, a forensic anthropologist found that Maria had been stabbed in the throat at least 3 times by a long, sharp blade, pointing out nicks in her sternum and neck vertebrae, consistent with at least 3 slashes to her throat. Although stabbing was considered a likely cause of death, an appellate court later stated that the findings did not preclude other possible causes of death, such as ligature strangulation, which could not be adequately investigated due to the decomposition of soft tissues. News of the arrest in the 54-year murder case drew national attention. The lead prosecutor was reluctant to take the case due to its age and the lack of any physical evidence connecting McCullough to the crime. But after being persuaded by the Ridulph and Tessier families, who all believed that McCullough was guilty, he formally charged McCullough with the kidnapping and murder of Maria. So both families were against him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even have his own family to back him up.
Yeah, they felt like he had done it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
At the trial in September 2012, the prosecution contended that McCullough was attracted to Maria and decided to kidnap her, but instead ended up killing her, presenting new autopsy reports suggesting Maria was stabbed to death.
I have a big problem with saying a grown man is attracted to a little girl.
No, it's disgusting.
That word doesn't even belong in that sentence.
No. I know. I had a problem with that too.
Yeah.
Although the prosecutors suspected McCullough of molesting Maria, they were unable to prove it and never brought it up in court. Numerous witnesses testified for the prosecution, including Maria's family members, neighbors, law enforcement personnel, and Kathy Sigmund, who was the star witness and identified McCullough as Johnny, the man who had walked up to her and Maria 50 years earlier. Another childhood friend of Maria's testified that she had also been offered a piggyback ride from Johnny and identified him as McCullough. This man and the piggyback rides.
Yeah.
Which honestly, if you look back, he would have taken Kathy if she had taken him up on his walk.
Oh, absolutely.
The defense argued that the prosecutors and police were pressured by the Ridulph and Tessier families to solve the case and implicate McCullough, although there was no physical evidence, motive, or indication that McCullough was in the area when Maria was kidnapped. McCullough did not take the stand in his own defense on the advice of his attorneys. On September 14, 2012, McCullough was convicted of the kidnapping and murder of Maria Ridulph and received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 20 years. He was 73 years old at the time of sentencing.
He lived his whole life.
Well, McCullough appealed his convictions. On February 13, 2015, the Illinois Appellate Court, 2nd District, upheld his murder conviction but vacated his convictions for kidnapping and abduction of an infant as being outside the 3-year statute of limitations in effect for those crimes in 1957. The decision had no effect on McCullough's life sentence, as the sentencing court had provided that the sentences for kidnapping and abduction would merge into McCullough's life sentences for murder. Although the appellate court ruled that Eileen Tessier's deathbed statement should not have been admitted as evidence against McCullough, the court declined to overturn the murder conviction because Judge Halleck did not rely heavily upon the statement in issuing the conviction.
I'm surprised that they didn't put that in as hearsay anyway.
I know,
Honestly.
me too. I mean,
yeah, because that's definitely hearsay. So what is his defending attorneys doing? Because I would definitely get that striked out. Now, let me be perfectly clear. I could not be a defending attorney. I just
absolutely
couldn't do
not.
it. But with that being said, if I was doing the job, I would definitely be throwing that out as hearsay.
Well, McCullough always maintained his innocence, and in the end, the courts agreed. Even though McCullough had already been convicted of the crime, his attorneys subpoenaed the phone records from that day, which, with witnesses, provided that he was in another city during the time of the kidnapping and couldn't have committed the crime. John Tessier, or Jack McCullough, was officially declared innocent in April of 2017 at the age of 76.
Okay, wait a minute. They pulled phone records from the 50s? How? Where are these records?
I don't know.
I find that odd. And let's be honest, people's memory fades over time. And you're talking again from like 2017 to from.
Well, you're talking over 50 years.
Yeah.
And I have to say this. He is a freaking scumbag. And somebody needs to beat the shit out of him anyway.
Right.
If not worse.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But there is no evidence that he did it.
Right.
Except these piggyback rides.
Mm-hmm. Which makes
and a
sense.
little 8-year-old girl saying that was him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, even by the time she was able to identify him, she's decades older.
Mhm.
And people age. Sometimes I don't recognize someone that I haven't seen in a long time because they've aged.
Yeah.
You don't recognize them. So that's weird, that she would remember that from her childhood. I don't know. It's questionable.
So, guys, the case of Maria Ridulph is still open today. But on the same day McCullough was exonerated of the crime, the authorities received an anonymous letter relating to the case. The letter was sent to Richard Schmack, the Illinois state attorney, and it apparently listed another potential suspect. But the name of that suspect has never been released.
Well, it's highly possible that person's no longer alive.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we know that McCullough didn't send this letter?
Okay.
We
don't know anything.
Or did he have a wife or girlfriend that could have done it?
We don't know anything.
Everything's hearsay.
So this case was the oldest cold case ever to be solved. And then now it's,
Yeah. But it was circumstantial.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to convict someone and it stick with that many decades gone by and it being only circumstantial,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So, I mean, the guy literally lived the majority of his life. If he committed this crime, he pretty much lived out his whole life
Oh,
until his 70s,
absolutely.
going about his
Had
business.
a
Yeah.
family. Now,
Hmm.
he is a scumbag, whether he did it or not. I have my own opinion of what should be done to him.
Right.
But
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah. I mean, he
So,
violated his own sister, for God's sakes. Yeah. And
sick.
other people,
And other
other
people.
young ladies. But I mean, what makes you think that if he's going to do that to his own sister, that he would not do that to two small little girls?
Hmm.
You know, but there's a lot of circumstantial against him for sure.
Yeah. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think he did it? Do you think it was someone else? Do you think it was this Redmond guy who was a piece of shit himself? What do you think?
I don't know. The mom on her deathbed, if she did say that he did it, it's highly probable it's him. Highly probable because
I do agree.
mamas don't turn in their babies unless they know for sure that they did something. Yeah.
Well, technically, she didn't turn him in. She just decided to tell his sister who didn't want to turn him in for a while.
Right. Well, you know what I mean. They're not going to say anything. So, yeah.
So, yeah, guys, let us know what you think. We want to hear the comments. I'm dying to know. This was a doozy.
It was a doozy.
A doozy, which I don't think I've ever used that word. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, put some comments in the comment section. We'll read them. We'll get back with you. We love to hear people think outside the box.
Yes, and we do love comments, guys. She does our socials, but I will tell you, I get screenshots of all of them.
Yes, and I screenshot typically before I respond and after I respond, so she knows what's going on
I
over
know it
here in our
all.
comments. Yeah, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So, guys, have an awesome week. And until next time, remember to see the good and stay imperfectly perfect. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.